Hi guys, thank you for tuning in to my channel. It's so good to be back again with another lovely tutorial. So today's video, I'm going to be taking us on how to draft a flared dress pattern. So it's going to be kind of like a 3-in-1 tutorial. I'll be drafting a flared dress pattern, and this pattern is going to have a yoke, and I'll be achieving this using the slash and spread method. Yes, so this method particularly works well when you have very minimal fabric and you're still trying to achieve that fullness that comes with a flared dress or a shift dress, right? Yes, and you can use this for a flared skirt, you can use this for a flared dress, however you choose to. Yes, and I do know that some persons find the slash and spread method difficult, or they don't know how to go about it. So I hope that this tutorial helps in making it possible and very easy for you. And not forget, if this is your first time of watching, thank you so much for your time, for your data. I know it means a lot. Kindly go a step further by clicking the subscribe button and tapping the notification bell down below so that you get updated when I upload new videos like this weekly. So without further ado, let's get to the drafting table. Okay guys, so to start off with, I have my pattern paper here and I'll be drafting on my pattern paper. I'll take all my vertical measurements down and my baseline at the top, and I'll show you. So I've marked out my measurements. I have my baseline and other measurements below. From here to here measures 9 inches, which is my chest line. From the top to this point measures 17 inches, which is my waist. And from here to here measures 25 inches, which is my hip line. And the length of the dress is 39 inches. So because it's a yoke dress, I want us to attend to the top part of the dress before moving on to the bottom part. So I'll start at first by taking my neckline measurements. For my neck width, I'd like to be making use of 3 inches, and then half of my shoulder measurement is 8 inches. I'll mark this and extend it down here and connect it in a straight line. For my shoulders, so for my shoulder slope, I'll be coming down 1 inch from the neckline, and I'll connect it to my 3-inch neck width. Okay, so now I'll be working on my neck depth. I'll be using 1 inch for the back neck depth, which is fine because I'll have an opening which measures about 5 inches, so 1 inch is just okay. And then for the front neck depth, I'll be working with 3.5 inches. I'll maintain my 3-inch neck width. So let's connect our lines. So working on the armhole now, usually the front pattern is deeper than the back pattern. So you need to get the midpoint of your armhole measurement after you must have created your shoulder slope. For me, it's 4 inches. At this point, I go in by a 3/4 inch, and this will serve as my front armhole. On my chest line, I'm going to mark 1/4 of my bust measurement. For me, my bust measurement, 1/4 of it is 9 inches. I'll add 0.5 inch for ease, that's 9.5. So I'll mark 9.5 right here, and I'll add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Always remember to add your 0.5 inch shoulder joining. Okay guys, so moving on to the waistline. a quarter of my waist measurement is 7 inches, but because this is a flare dress, it's not fitted and I'm not quite on the big side, I'll be adding anything from 1 inch to 2 inches to my normal waist measurement. So I'll be marking out 9 inches and then I'll be adding 1 inch for sewing allowance. You can decide to do more or do less. It really depends on you. So for my hip measurements, a quarter of my hip measurement is 9¾ yeah, 9¾ but I'll round this up to 10 inches. And then I'll add my 1 inch sewing allowance, and in total that makes it 11 inches. So now at the bottom of the dress, also known as the hemline, you take whatever measurements you have on your waistline, on your hip line, excluding the 1 inch sewing allowance, and add anything from 3 inches, could be 4, could be 5. You can't do anything less than 3 inches. So I have 10 inches here. I'm going to add 3 inches to it, which gives 13 inches. So I'll be marking 13 inches at my hemline, and then 1 inch for my sewing allowance. In total, that's 14 inches. So it's time for us to connect the dots. Usually, some people would do this. They would ignore the waistline measurements and connect the lines straight from the arm, from the chest point to the hip, and from the hip down to the hemline of the dress. But I wouldn't be doing this because I want a little fit. So I'll maintain all my measurements as drafted. I recollect saying I was going to finish with the yoke part of the dress and I jumped down to the body, but yeah, we'll attend to that. So let's quickly connect the lines. And as you can see, our dress is already taking shape. It's now time to deal with the yoke part of the dress. So usually I love to work with about 7 inches from my shoulder line. You can use 6, you can use 7, you can use 8, as you please, but I do believe the length of the armhole measurement will be a determining factor. So I'll mark out and connect 7 inches from my shoulder line. So these 7 inches I'm drafting now will form that yoke part of the dress. So this is the yoke part and this is the bottom part of the dress. Always remember to please add your 0.5 inches at the yoke part and at the bottom part when cutting on your main fabric. So I'll quickly cut this out so that it's the only pattern we're seeing on, on the draft table. Oh, so before I trim this off, because I don't want that pointy edge, at the hemline of the dress, I'll be coming up by 1 inch or 1.5 inch. And then I'll use my hip curve to blend out the line. So I'll quickly come up by 1 inch and then I'll blend the line just the way I'm doing right now. Yes, so this is actually a lot better than how it was before. So I'll quickly cut this out and let's see. Alright guys, so we have our patterns ready. So So at this point, I'll be making use of my bust span measurements. My bust span, half of my bust span measurement is 3.5 inches. So I'll be using that to create the slash lines. So I'll mark out the first 3.5 inches that I can get, which is what I'm doing. And then whatever I have left, I'll divide it by 2. So that's believing that it can't accommodate another 3.5 inches. So I have 5 inches left. I'll divide that by 2, which gives me 2.5 inches on both sides. Yeah. So I want to connect it or extend it down in a straight line, and then for the second one in a partially straight slanted line. I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so at the bottom of the dress, which is also my hemline, I also want to maintain the first 3.5 inches just like I did at the top, right? And after marking the first 3.5 inches, whatever I have left, I'll divide it by 2 and mark on that point. So I'll just extend this in a straight line and extend the other. So yes guys, as you can see, this is what it looks like at the end of the day. I can't cut this out yet because I have to place it on my fabric and cut out, you know, the back neckline first and then the front neckline, but that's fine. So now moving on, we want to slash the lines, but I wouldn't get to the edge of the paper. So I'll stop at about 1/4 of an inch before the end. And you see guys, our slash and spread is ready. I told you this was going to be super easy. I mean, like, very easy. So all you need to do now is place this nicely on your folded fabric, okay, and spread it out, leaving the same amount of inches in between at the bottom parts. It's very important, just so that you have like a uniform flare. So you can imagine, you know, the volume this will give you when you have very minimal fabric. Not forgetting the yoke part, add your joining allowance to the top, and then add your joining allowance to the bottom, trim out for the back neckline and then for the front neckline, and then repeat the same process for the armhole at the top and the bottom. So thanks for watching guys. That's all for today's tutorial. Till my next video, bye.